Good morning everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm going to be installing an EMS, which is an electrical management system. I have a 2011 Tiffin Allegro Open Road 34 TGA, and it came with a transfer switch which has some surge protection to it. However, doesn't do anything for potentially low voltage or high voltage or reverse polarities or a few other things that you commonly might come across in a campground. I felt to best protect the motorhome, we will put something in that does do all of that. So today we'll be installing this from Progressive Industries. From Progressive Industries is the EMS LCHW50. It's a 50 amp coach. If you have a 30 amp coach, you'll need the 30 amp version of this. There is a model that's almost identical, but it instead of having the readout panel here in the unit, it offers a remote readout panel that you can put elsewhere. I got this one at the time I purchased for about $75 less than the other model, and I think it'd be helpful to have the readout right here in my electrical bay, as when I plug into the pedestal is when I want to see that everything's okay. So I just went ahead with this model and saved a little bit of money. You can see here in the bin, here's my transfer switch. This is going to come in line before the transfer switch. But before I get started, I want to be really clear. I am not an electrician. I am moderately experienced homeowner, moderate electrical knowledge. Please don't use this as the be-all end-all. It's not really meant to be a step-by-step how-to. It's just me showing you my process as I try to figure my way through this, and I'm sure I'm gonna come across a couple of unknowns and hurdles that I'm gonna have to cross. People that have done this online that have said that had a bit of experience said it's about a 2-hour project. You can see getting into this tight space is not going to be very easy for a big guy like me. So I do have enough electrical knowledge to know that I am completely disconnected from shore power. There is no power going to the electrical bay while I'm doing my work here. So I'm going to open up this box, which has 2 screws holding it closed, and then I'm going to open up the transfer switch, and I just want to see what I'm dealing with. So when you remove the cover, this is what you have. The readout panel is packed separately here. It ends up plugging in right here. We're going to set that aside. Okay, this is the little rings that go around to measure amperage, so I'll unplug that in a second. But one side is going to be my input side, and one side is going to be our output side. Since we're 50 amp, we're going to have a line 1 and a line 2. I could have decided to wire this after the transfer switch, which then would have regulated power from the generator or shore power, and I could wire it before the transfer switch, in which case it would only be regulating shore power. Power from the generator is a known source of power and not going to present the problems that you're going to see from a pedestal in a campground. So I'm going to wire mine before the transfer switch. And if you're going before the transfer switch, then you have 2 other things to decide, well, several other. Placement, where you're going to put the unit. Also, some people will cut their shore power cord and put the system in line in this existing cord. And the other way to do it is to take the shoreline power cord out of the transfer switch and put a little jumper, like a 2-foot jumper. If you go the jumper route, you have a little bit more flexibility and you don't lose any distance out of your shore power cord. I decided to pick up a jumper. Lowe's had the 6 gauge, 3 conductor plus ground. I think I paid about $3.25 or so a foot. I got 3 feet of it, which is more than I needed. Saying all that another way, I'm going to take the cover off of here, disconnect my shore power cable, put a jumper where the shore power cable was, and then this will get connected back into the new EMS box. So this has 4 screws on it. Can already tell working in this space is not going to be fun. This is a transfer switch with the cover off. On the right side there you see that's the input side, left side is the output side. I see input, 2 inputs. One is coming from my generator, one's coming from the shore power cable. The shore power cable is the one at the top with the green, black, yellow, red. And I am going to disconnect all of those at the top, and then I'll pull that cable out. So I'm going to take my phone and snap a shot at how this was wired. Yes, I'm breathing heavy. You get a belly like this and it's hard to bend into here. I'm using this little mirror from my wife's bathroom mirror, and I have an LED light in here. And using the mirror, I can kind of see in the mirror what I'm looking for, because some of it I cannot see.
What'd you say the colors were?
Well, the colors are from bottom to top, red, yellow, black, and then the green is my ground, which is up here. Now that I've got these wires pulled out, I can tell my concern about my 6-gauge wire not being big enough. These wires just have thicker insulation than the stuff I bought. The copper itself, the conductor's not any different. I really like what I see here. They from the factory, this is stranded wire. I don't know if they put something on the end of it.
That's neat looking.
Well, of course the ground is not, but these are just clamped.
Let me get a zoom in.
Maybe it's because they've been clamped so long, but it almost looks like they put some kind of a solid end on them to keep them from fraying.
Yeah.
So it's really nice. I hope they fit in the EMS box just like they are. In reading the instructions, they have a nice picture here. I've got it oriented to match the picture. L1, L2, L3 is my input side from shore power. And then these are labeled T1, T2, T3. And these go to the transfer switch, which should be easy to remember. Line power, and the T, I don't know what it's supposed to stand for, but T will mean transfer switch in my mind. Now for my orientation, the transfer switch is going to be on the left side of my box, but I'm coming out of the right, so I'm going to have to do some kind of loop around with my little pigtail. This is my shore power. Those are my L1, L2, L3, and I'm just going to follow the instructions. Alright, it calls for L1 to be black, L2 to be white, and then L3 is going to be red. Green is going to go over here to the ground screw. Get the whole thing through here without messing up those nice pretty ends. Alright, that's a lot of cable in that box. And I'm hoping to get the jacket to my crimper here. Nice and tight. Almost started to strip on me there. I guess you got to be a little careful. Let me get my a little bigger screwdriver. Bite on it a little better. I'm going to leave this loose till I get all of these in place. Now imagine they give us these crimper ends to be put on the end of this ground so it can then go here on this nut. I should have put this on before I even put this wire into the box. That way I could have worked this with a little more freedom. Alright, I got my ground connected. I got the lug on, ground's connected. I've got L1 black, L2 is my yellow, L3 is my red. So I think on my input side I'm done. Got my ground crimp on. Now I'm gonna loosen this side. This is gonna be my output to the coach. So my little pigtail going on this side. and then just like that. Alright, and they're already sort of in the order they need to be in. These little sensors need to go on each line, and I've got to figure out in the instructions which goes to which. So don't ever be ashamed to double, triple check yourself with these. The short cable coming from the junction box, but sliding it through the wire restraint, that's what I just did. Next, slide the black wire through the current sensor containing the green tape. So there should be one here with green tape. That's white. That's white with a black mark. How you like that? So in a case like this, which happens from time to time, I think I'm gonna go to YouTube and see if anybody's had this situation. I'm gonna think that the one with the mark is my green tape, but I don't want to guess. And I also don't think it is a critical thing to causing a hazard. Well, I'm gonna tell you, the internet is a beautiful thing. That took me about 2 minutes to figure out what I need to do. Found another fellow that had the same, actually a lot of people were posting that their sticker was missing. That as these two go back to the circuit board, the ones wired to the uppermost part of the circuit board were going to be for T1. And I'm going to guess then that if green went to T1, this is going to be the one with the black mark. Let's see if I would have been right. Yep, black mark 1, T1. I think they may have switched to this black mark instead of the green stickers. Hopefully my video will help someone as quickly. Probably not, because I talk a lot, but maybe my video will help someone just like that post just helped me. This sensor over the black. Now try to get black into that terminal. There we go. Nice and snug. Alright. White doesn't get a sensor. Now red is getting the sensor wired to the bottom of the circuit board. Alright, and it said several times in the instructions to double check. So black to black, my yellow to my white, red to red. So, and my sensors are on. It did say there was an arrow on the sensor. I sure hope I got them in the right direction. Let's check. Arrow side of the sensor needs to face T1 and T3. So I'm not sure. Oh, I got one of them wrong for sure. I think all that's done. The wire's kind of small, so they're going down all the way. It seems to have bit though. And now this one's bigger, so I think this one will clamp down pretty nice. Set the time delay jumper on the circuit board. Factory setting is for 15 seconds. Since my ACs already have a time delay, 15 seconds will be plenty. I know I'm making it sound complicated, and it may not be, but that's the way my brain works. This is my little display. It's going to go in here, and you can rotate this depending on how you're going to mount the box. So when the lid goes on, yep, my readout's right there. Also, you'll notice the box is labeled line input, shore power cable, load output, my pigtail back to the transfer box. I think I've got everything wired that I can do out here. The next step is going to be, I'm going to mount the box on the back wall in this storage. And then I can take my pigtail, cut it to the right length, and mount it into the, or connect it to the transfer box. I have made this job take all day, and it didn't need to. So I have the box mounted to the back wall. My shore power is coming out the bottom, so it conserves as much cable as I can. I'm going to relocate that little stress relief point over there. My pigtail comes out of the top. I'm going to bend that so it's not going or not interfering with my through storage. And now I'm currently trying to get those wires fished through and connected. Job is done. Would I do it again? Yeah, because I'm a glutton for punishment, but as a big guy, Getting in there and fooling with that heavy gauge wire was quite a challenge. There's nothing technically difficult about the job. It's just physically. So if you're younger and can bend pretty well and maybe not quite as wide as I am, be a much easier job. But I had a real tough go of it. Got my stress relief clamps mounted. I do have to tidy that wire up a little bit in the back still. For the record, I actually plugged it in a minute ago, so you're not seeing the first one. But you're seeing the second. So what we're seeing is the light at the bottom right is flashing because it's going to do that until it's ready to send power to the transfer switch. There goes the transfer switch. Now I'm plugged into just a 20 amp garage circuit, so it's reading 60 Hertz. The error is 0. Line 1 112 volt, 0 amps. Line 2 112 volt, 6 amps. No errors. Seems to be working like it should. Thanks for joining me today. I hope this helps in some way. If you have any questions, don't ask me. Follow the instructions. Black matches black every time, red matches red every time, white matches white every time. That's all there is to it. I hope. I don't see any smoke yet. Have a good one.